Hi, welcome to this week's episode of Building Talk. I'm Bryan Falk. With me today, we're lucky to have Karen Christilles with 712 Innovations. Karen is the executive director there. Karen, you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. I am very proud and pleased to be at 712 Innovations as the executive director of this co-work makerspace here. My background, however, is in arts administration. That's what my master's is in, but I have been around creativity and people who make and build things all their life, and I'm an organizer, so that's what I'm doing here.
Great. And I am a member at 712, and that's how I know Karen, and I've been officing out here since I've started Falk Architects about a year ago. And loved it. I love the idea of maker spaces. I love the idea of co-worker spaces, and at 712 we have both. Karen's going to talk to us about the fairly new phenomenon of coworker spaces and what they're like, why people like them, costs associated with them. Why don't we start with first? Just tell us, what is a coworker space?
Sure. A co-work space is really just a shared community space where people work out of. But the definition of co-work space as we know it started like in the 50s and back east. In that was the first one where they had a large office building, and instead of that being just solely one office within that, the thought was is that, not only for the energy and the creativity and the synergy that you get within a co-work space, but also the low-cost startup that you need for businesses to launch and start, coming together and working kind of sharing, some of the nicer amenities like, copiers and a refrigerator in the break room and things like that. So you're sharing those sort of things with other offices and startups. But so the exchange is that, you have a desk or a small office and a space, but like a shared lobby and a shared receptionist and that first one started in New Jersey and has since grown, and now they're really becoming not only popular, but commercial entities. So they're not just like sponsored by a university or a city government that wants to help sponsor young startup businesses, but they're actually sponsored in commercial venues like WeWork, for instance, is a well-known one.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your makerspace. It's sponsored by the Chamber, Go Topeka. What is it?
Yeah, we're actually we're a division of the Greater Topeka Chamber here, or a program with it. Program within, I guess is correctly how I should say that. And we are a standalone from the Chamber in that we receive all of our funding from our membership fees, grants that we write, and our sponsorship. And so that's how we receive funds. We were able to start up with no loan or overhead. And the reason we're able to offer our members a low-cost fee is because we received an initial 3-year grant from JADO, which is the Joint Economic Development Organization between the city and the county, so the county of Shawnee and the city of Topeka. And so that startup grant allowed us to purchase a lot of the equipment and the furniture, make some of the renovations on the building. And we don't have a loan or an overhead, and that's why we're able to offer the lower rate, monthly rate that we have, because we're not a commercial business.
Excellent. Now, on the flip side, if it was a commercial, tell me a little bit about how those are typically run and how they are able to make things work.
Yeah, so some of them, some of them, if they are a commercial business, one of the things is they're going to not only have the sort of shared break room and attractions, but a lot of them have not only free water and coffee, high-end coffee, but also free beer within the facility. They have climbing walls within them. They have gyms. They have locker rooms and showers. And so it's, the commercial ones offer a lot of amenities for the additional cost that you might find. And because they are, a national chain, they have a lot of brand support behind them as well. And so therefore the, monthly fees, you might be coming in at a starting rate of $300 or $600, where for instance at 712, the basic membership is a starting rate of $50 a month. So those are per month costs. Some, we do not have a contract that you sign. Some of the commercial ones do have a contract that you would sign for 6 months or a year, just like a gym membership, for instance.
Interesting. Could you tell me some of the basic elements, programmatic elements that every coworker space should have? And then is there, I know we have talked about maybe bringing in science and technology type applications into our coworker space. Mm-hmm. What are some of them that people are starting to look at when they create more elaborate coworker environments?
Sure. Some of the, obviously the basic things is, you need a desk, and chairs and places where people can have the option of working in a more public environment or stepping into a place quiet when they need to take a phone call or something like that. So at its base, you need that. I mean, most are going to have Wi-Fi that you connect throughout, since we are a wireless society now. So some do have actual phones on the desk that are wired systems, but a lot, since most people are doing their business off their cell phone, so it's totally a wireless facility. Some of the other things that you need to think about, which would be like sort of the soft side, if you would, so hard being desk and soft being programming, is one of the reasons that people seek out a co-work space is because they do want to be within a community. And so some of those networking abilities, those programming abilities, whether that's like a monthly meetup of the members, which is more just like an informal mixer, all the way up to like more formal like programming, where, for instance, we do 1 million cups, which is it's a formal way for startups in our community to do a pitch and then have question and answer sessions with the community members, and we allow the public to come in. 1 million cups always allows the public in to hear what's going on. Some offer classes and actual mentors. Some of the ones which are industry specific. I toured recently one in Seattle at the national conference, one that is based there in Seattle, and that's all members who are within the pharmaceutical industry. So different startup businesses within that science and technology aspect. And so, therefore, that is underwritten by a pharmaceutical company that wants to see more innovation within their field. And so they are encouraging cross-collaboration between these smaller inventor industry, within their industry, to drive the innovation within their industry at a faster rate. So instead of it being a competitive rate, a faster rate. So all of the ways, that you can form community from, allowing conversational spaces where people can just sit and chat, all the way up to some sort of formalized way to make that community happen.
Yeah. And some of the features of our coworker space that I really like, I like having a scanner, printer, fax that I don't have to mess with at all. And it's fairly reasonable price to print and do everything with. I like that there's a large conference room with a large screen that's touch sensitive, that's a high quality conference room. I like that the space gets cleaned periodically, and I don't have to mess with that. I don't have to mess with paying utility bills, Wi-Fi, internet access. There's somebody that's always manning the door typically, and so if there's a package or something delivered, if I'm out at a meeting, I don't have to worry about it getting left on or not delivered at all. So there's a lot of benefits in my mind. I would see a coworker space being the best answer for a small business. Anything more for me personally would be kind of gluttonous. I just don't need it. So the thing that I'd ask you Is there anything about our space now that you would change? We have a space that we're looking to expand upon. What are some of the amenities that we don't currently have that you think you would like to have?
Well, I like the free beer option, so if I can find a way to have that in, definitely. So, I mean, just on the practical side, and this is part of, since we are the first co-work space that's paired with a Makerspace, one of the first in the country that's paired that way, but the first within the Topeka community is really some of the learning that we have. We have proof of concept that this is a great place. Topeka's a great town for this and has a need for it. But some of the things would be within the physical structure, what we've talked about in talking with you is that what I've found is that some people like the open desk drop-in space, but there is a lot of need, and actually I have more interest in like single office space with a door that you can close and lock and a key than we actually have available right now. And so just in terms of the structure of the business, being able to have the square footage that would allow for that sort of structure to happen would be one of the things that I would like to see here and that we need. Some of the other things, because we are that makerspace, we have a lot of big equipment back in the makerspace, and so we need more square footage just for that, and also some storage space, as well as studio space for those makers who don't want the more formal desk environment.
Sure. What do you think about mailboxes and their usefulness in a coworker space?
Yeah, that would be like really cool if I could find like a post office, don't you think? Mm-hmm. That would be getting away with your mailbox, but we, it's like, I'm a great one for like, Habitat for Humanity resale stores and things like that, So, one of the things that, as starting up is, you got to put down where your business address is. And so being able to have this be your official business address is huge for somebody starting up. And then the physicality of it, like right now we have a reception desk, and so we have a total inbox and an outbox, but actually having like a locked mailbox would be a really cool addition, I think, to where we are.
What do you think about physical locations of co-worker spaces? Should they be in downtown environments because that's where people want to be, or does the location not really matter as much? It can be in suburban or rural environments.
One of the things that kept being stressed, because the conference I recently attended in Seattle was about entrepreneurial ecosystems, and one of the things that they stressed is the biggest thing when you think about your city is the close proximity. And so the closest proximity of members working together and other entrepreneurs who are working, so like it needs not to be out in a field all alone somewhere. Well, that is great because you could do like a new build, and just build it because you're out in a field and you have all the parking you want. Sometimes, while it might not seem like, I know parking is a huge thing when you're in a downtown area, so you got to think about it. But like being out in a field where nobody's at is not what gets an entrepreneurial ecosystem up and revving and running, because don't you find that like, being where you can see other people and see other business and make those just casual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love to bump into people not only within 712, but just going out to my car. I run into business friends and acquaintances quite a bit, and I do like that about being in a downtown. However, there is a person running a makerspace in Northeast Kansas that seems to be doing it very successfully in a small town. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that many examples of small town coworker spaces?
Yeah, and a lot of those are like in Pittsburgh, Kansas. They're like doing Block 22, which is like in because they're small in those little towns. Their towns are dying, and so they will take over a couple blocks of their like downtown. And actually sort of recreate, what was once a thriving downtown with the co-work in the middle of there. Mm-hmm. And so that's pretty cool too, yeah. It depends on where you're at. Like in a larger city like Topeka, you know, you definitely need to be within the energy and the vibe of what's happening, I think.
So what are the typical fees that you've seen on the low range for a floating desk to high range, and for individual offices from low range to high range?
Yeah, we're pretty much, you know, there are some smaller communities out there that have lower fees, but if you're having a business where the co-work space has to support itself, you know, that $50 per month rate that we have then allows you to do like discounts for students, like we have, you know, at half price for students, or, you know, but just in terms of a business plan and a business structure, that's probably the lowest you can go, because actually in the research that I found is that most are, you know, $100 a month, $200, like I said, the commercial ones like $300 more, but with those you get free beer.
Yeah, and lots of other amenities.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Karen. I appreciate your insight on this. I learned a lot.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you next week on Building Talk, and I'm Bryan Falk. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.